those two up a little bit. Well, it looks like, don't say nothing, but it looks like, George and Sue are gonna be great grandparents.
Yeah, I heard. I think I heard. Yeah, he said something about it. Yeah. Oh no, I didn't. Oh, I didn't know that. No, I thought something different. Okay. George said something about his. George said something about his mom and grandmother going. His mom and his wife Sue and his mom going somewhere for some. I don't know, but maybe that's something different.
Yeah, looks like Michelle might be pregnant.
Oh, good. That's good. Wow.
She talks about it.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, that's all right. She's on her. Yeah. You could put my shoes on the bottom, and then and my clothes on top, if you want.
Yeah, hello. The July 20th meeting of the Board of Education. Order, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Rosado, roll call, please.
George Andrews.
Present.
Rebecca Bear.
Present.
Ann Catrillo.
Here.
Mike Catrillo.
Here.
Jason Goldstrand.
Present.
Keith Carcutt.
Present.
Debbie Kulik.
Present.
Rich Lamus.
Present.
Shanika Story.
Present.
9 present.
Okay, thank you. Welcome all of our guests that are present. We ask if you please be sure that if you haven't, later on, sign up outside so we have a list of people who are here. And announcement that an executive session was held this evening before this meeting for the purpose of discussing personnel, litigation, and negotiations. We now need a motion to adopt this agenda for July 20th, 2026, as submitted with the Board of Education reserving the right to add to the agenda and take further action on any items raised in executive session where immediate action on such items is considered to be in the best interest of the district.
So moved.
Motion.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion to approve the minutes of the June 15th, 2026 regular school board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
I want to,
I'm sorry.
I just want to abstain from.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And turn it over to Dr. Vitale.
Okay, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Snyder once I'm able to share my screen. Hold on one second. All right, so we have two presentations for the board this evening. One is during EPR and most of the spring, we've been talking about looking at changing the high school bell schedule. So Mr. Snyder is here to present what that looks like and what it could look like. I am now sharing, so that's not going to work. So you're going to have to tell me when to go.
Okay.
I took over. I'm sorry, Louis. I'm not doing anything right now. So Mr. Snyder, the floor is all yours, and then I will present about the climate survey.
All right, thank you. So at our last EPR meeting, I brought up the idea of going away from the block scheduling that we currently have in our high schools and the educational impacts and opportunities that can give to our students. So earlier in the spring, I had spoken to teachers at both North High School and South High School in a large group format, and I also met with students at both North and South to talk about going to a different schedule. And then from those discussions have come up with a couple of options that I would look for any guidance from the board in terms of moving forward. Next slide, please. So the goals of changing the schedule is to develop a single high school bell schedule to maximize student learning time and support student success. We want to design a schedule to reduce instructional gaps that our students currently have. So For those of you that aren't aware, under a block schedule, our students could go a calendar year in between having Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, or Algebra 2 and Geometry. They could go a calendar year in between those classes. And the research shows that those gaps in time actually diminish the learning of our students. What we want to do, so block scheduling was something that was very popular in the 1990s. And East Stroudsburg, along with our fellow Monroe County schools, for the most part, with the exception of Stroudsburg, shifted to block scheduling in the 90s. Some of our contemporaries at Pocono Mountain and at Pleasant Valley left block scheduling in the early 2010s, and we've been holding on to it. And as I've been working with the principals in terms of scheduling, the block scheduling really does limit us. Next slide, please. So what I'd like to do is design and improve a singular high school schedule that maximizes each student's potential by ensuring equitable access to rigorous, continuous, and meaningful learning experiences that prepare them for college, career, and life. Our purpose was not driven by our financial needs and was not intended to decrease full-time educators. This is about the learning and our student opportunities. Next slide, please. So these are our two bell schedules that we currently run. So we have a hybrid block. So we offer block classes for 88 minutes that run for approximately 88 days. We also have, in certain courses, certain elective courses and certain applied level courses, we have full year courses that run at 42 minutes apiece. You can look at the instructional minutes and you see that even though we are in school for the exact same time, currently from 7:20 to 2:30, that our instructional minutes vary between North and South. And that is because when there are breakdowns like you see in the North schedule with 15 periods, if a period is running the same time as a block, you have to take the lowest number of instructional minutes that our students could have. And in the case of North, it lowers them by 16 minutes of instruction a day. So one thing that I would look to do is run the exact same schedule at both North and South. And what I have for you tonight is 3 examples of a period schedule that we could run, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it and answer any questions that you might have. Next slide, please. So our current model is the modified block schedule. A 1 credit class is 88 minutes for 88 school days or 42 minutes for 176 days. Teachers teach up to 3 blocks or 6 periods per day, depending on the course that they teach. Students receive 129 hours of instruction per credit. So a full credit class, they will get 129 hours of instruction, and they can take up to 32 credits per year. We require 26 credits to graduate. Next slide, please. So the first proposal that we have is a 9-period day. This would be 9 periods with 43-minute classes. Teachers would teach 6 periods per day. There would be 4 43-minute lunch periods. Students would receive 126 hours of instruction per credit. There are between 28 and 32 credits possible, depending on a study hall possibility. And there are 26 credits required to graduate. So that's option 1. And this is what that schedule would look like. Next slide, please. So you can see the shaded classes are the lunch. It will be a 43-minute lunch period. And there would be extra time in the first period of the day for homeroom. And that would give us 347 instructional minutes or instructional hours. Or instructional minutes, I'm sorry. There's also an 8-period schedule. So this schedule came out of EPR. This is the one, honestly, that I've done the least amount of research in. And I think as it's first presented, there may be more questions that I don't have answers to with this particular schedule. So this would be an 8-period day with 50-minute classes and a 10-minute homeroom period. Teachers would again teach 6 periods per day. There would be 4 50-minute lunch periods. Students would receive 146.7 hours of instruction per credit. There would again be 28 to 32 credits possible, depending on the study hall structure, and there would be 26 credits required to graduate. And this is what that schedule would look like. Now you see, as you look at this schedule, there's a lot of questions. Do we really run a 50-minute lunch? Could we do other things with it? That would take a few hundred hours of work. And if you like the idea of this 50-minute schedule, I'd be more than happy to put that work in. But there are a lot of questions. And lunches would then start at about 9:15, and the last lunch would be at 12:30 with that, which I don't think too many students would be happy with based on the conversations I've had with them in the spring. But it was asked of me to kind of split the difference between the schedule I just showed you and the schedule I'm about to show you. So I wanted to let you know that I did run those numbers. Next slide, please. The last one is the one that I spoke the most with our teachers and our students, because it is very different from many schedules that people are familiar with. This would be a 6-period day with classes that range from 59 to 65 minutes per day. Teachers would teach 5 periods. There would be 5 30-minute lunch periods. With this schedule, students would receive 173 hours per credit of instruction. This is an increase of about 44 hours of instruction per credit over what we currently offer with our modified block schedule. There would only be 24 credits possible. So less total classes taken, less total credits taken. And then under this proposal, I would propose that we have 22 credits required to graduate. Next slide, please. And this is what that class would look like. So you'll see there are actually 9 periods on this, and you may ask, why do you call it a 6-period schedule? And that is because the shaded periods 4 through 8 are the 30-minute lunch periods. Students would have 1 30-minute lunch, and then they would have 2 65-minute classes during that time. So they may have a class periods 4 and 5 for the same class, one class periods 4 and 5, go to lunch 6, then go to class period 7 and 8. Or they may have class period 4, 5, 6, lunch 7, finish their 6-period class during 8, and then 9th. Next slide, please. Now that 6-credit schedule would cause a shift in our graduation requirements so that it would still allow students to have choice in their electives and other classes that they would want to take. So under that proposal, we would move from our current requirements of 4 credits of math, 4 credits of English, 3 credits of science, 4 credits of social studies, to 4 credits of English and only 3 credits in math, science, and social studies. We would also remove the mandatory arts and humanities credits. We would reduce by half a credit our physical education, health, and driver's ed mandate. We would reduce financial literacy to a half credit. And then the total number of electives that students could take would be reduced to 9 credits. Now, that doesn't mean total number of courses, Because what we would look to do is take some of our current 1-credit courses and turn them into half-credit courses so students could still get their variety.
Because the instructional hours goes from 88 minutes to 173 minutes.
Yes, so if you look at currently under math, with 4 credits of math currently, students receive 493 hours of instruction. With the 6-period schedule and 3 credits of math required, if they only took their required classes, they would get almost over 20 hours more of instruction in the courses that they took.
Could they still double up if they wanted to? I know a lot of students like to double up on their math. Like,
Well-
they want to be able to take, AP calculus, but they're starting freshman year with algebra 1, then algebra 2, then algebra 3, geometry,
It's-
and then they would take 2 math courses in 1 year with the
It's-
block.
You could do it in math one specific way. And in the districts that I worked at previously, we had traditional bell schedules and students would take algebra 2 and geometry concurrently so that they could move ahead. But more than that, unless the student's really willing to give up all elective options that they had, it would be very difficult because we're talking about year-long classes.
Just because I know a lot of students have done that in the past where they want to get to that AP level class, so they double up on certain subjects in order to get that. And the block schedule allowed them to do that because they would take, one first half of the year, the other second half of the year.
Yeah, and that is very popular with block scheduling.
Yeah, that's why I was just asking. If that would still be an option for students with any of these block options.
With the full year periods, what you would do is you double up you would double up in algebra and geometry.
Mhm.
And then you would then take pre-calculus and then you could take your AP calculus.
Okay.
So like our strong math students that take algebra 1 in
Middle school.
in 8th grade could take algebra 2 and geometry if they so chose in 9th grade. But even with the track, and if they took algebra 1 in 8th grade, they could take algebra 2, geometry, pre-calculus, calculus, including AP. If a student were behind or were not in algebra 1 in 8th grade, they could take algebra 1 in 9th grade, then take algebra 2, geometry in 10th,
Mhm.
pre-calculus, and then the AP.
So when I'm looking at the 6-class period model, and we'll just refer back to what Rebecca was saying about mathematics, even though there's an increased number of instructional hours over the 4-class periods, it limits them to the 3 math courses as opposed to 4 math courses.
Well, they can take 4 math
Well, they
courses.
can't. No,
We're only
I'm
requiring
just
3.
saying based upon this,
Yes.
what we have here.
So what I'm saying is we're only
So-
requiring 3.
Right.
So it leaves it more up to the student
To
and
take
their path
4
if they
within that.
choose to take 4.
Now, even though those 3 courses would increase the hours of instruction just based upon how the schedule is laid out, is the curriculum going to increase that percentage as well in order, or are we keeping the same? My point is, I'm just trying to figure out, does it make sense for us to, if we were to go in this route, to go to an 8-9, which seems to be similar to, which gives us the 4 classes, which gives us a limited, in those instructional hours, our instructors or our educators don't cut the curriculum, right?
Well,
I mean, I don't think.
we only have a finite amount of time.
Right. And so our curriculums are designed around the amount of time that
Correct.
we put into the schedule itself. So we're looking at just getting a little bit more length to that curriculum, a little bit more depth, because
Both.
math is pretty easy. Social studies, we can go in and we can spend more time on
So really,
content.
really what we would look to do is both.
Okay.
And the purpose of the proposal to be implemented in the 28-29 school district came from my meetings with the students.
Okay.
So with the proposed change under that schedule to our graduation requirements, when I met with students, one of the students said that they chose their classes for this upcoming year, which would be their junior year, with their senior year schedule in mind. And that if we would implement any sooner, that student would ask for different courses this year.
Right.
So because of that, what I would like to do is ultimately have a decision made for the start of this school year, what we are going to do 2 years in advance. So when students choose their courses next year, they're choosing them knowing that the rules are changing the following year.
Now, I think it needs to be understood, if I'm hearing you correctly, that the credit value of a course may change, but it doesn't change the curriculum of that course.
Well, all the curriculum's going to be adjusted
Right.
for the amount of time that the teachers have, which is the other part of the 2-year implementation process. So my department would be working with the teachers over the next 2 years to prepare their curriculum and their lessons to meet whichever class period we go with.
And so there would be no reduction of courses. We wouldn't say, oh, okay, we can't make this class work as a 0.5.
No,
So we're just gonna.
And actually, our schedules right now are very tight, and we do get in our own way when it comes to scheduling. So when you offer a course in block, if it's a required course, you have to offer a section in the fall and in the spring. You have to offer it in the morning and the afternoon to meet the needs of our MCTI students.
Correct.
So really, regardless of what the number of students requesting a course is, we have to run between 2 and 4 sections just to meet those students' needs. Well, if we only need 3 sections based on student request, and we can not offer that 4th section to make students' schedules work, well, then we can offer something different that teacher can teach in that 4th section.
And it's to be understood also that courses are not just full year courses, that
Correct.
students have the opportunity to take
Half-year electives.
multiple courses
Yes.
as electives.
Yeah, and some of the courses would be designed only, like our
Right.
half credit would only be a half year for the 60 minutes. Other courses, the full year, full credit courses would then be all year and continuous.
Which is really not much different than that half-year course program that we
Correct.
had.
But that would be more in our electives.
Right.
Not in our course.
Of course.
So would
So-
there's, go ahead.
So do we want
I-
to keep going?
Yeah.
With the
I
pluses and
apologize for-
minuses
yeah,
and
thank
then
you.
get to questions?
Because hopefully I'll
Okay.
answer your questions.
Okay.
So with an 8 or 9 period schedule, what you see, there would be no change to the required number of courses, no change to the required number of credits to graduate, and no phase-in process for what we are requiring our students to do to earn an East Stroudsburg area diploma. Under the 6 class period schedule, it would be a 4-year phase-in for our students based on the number of credits that they have earned when we start this schedule. Currently, students must pass 26 of 32 courses, which is 81.25%, 20 of which are required. It is proposed that future students from 2031 and on would successfully complete 22 of 24 courses, credits, 92%, 15 of which are required. So we're really allowing students to choose their path through high school. And this would be the phase-in process that we would use. The first group of seniors to go through this would be the class of 2029. They would enter with 24 credits, and then we would require 26 to graduate. The juniors would be the class of 2030. They would enter with 16, and we would require 24 to graduate. The sophomores are the class of 2031. They would enter with 8, and we would require 23. And the freshmen are the class of 2032. and they would enter with 0, and that would be the first class under the entirely new graduation requirement. So some pros and cons. The pros, students have exposure to 8 classes per year. They have many choices for their electives throughout their schedule, as long as they can fit them in their schedule. Now at North, we do have more difficulty getting students the classes that they are requesting. Sorry. Oh, the students and teachers are comfortable with this mode of instruction. The graduation requirements are defined and set. There's a strong schedule for hands-on learning. Science labs are automatically built in. We're not trying to adjust the schedule. Easily double up, and early graduation is an option. The cons, there are AP testing gaps. Some of our students take a fall AP class and then have to take their test in May. So they end their instruction in January, and then they take the big test for that class in May. The PMMCTI students at North fall below the state required 990 instructional hours, and we lose subsidy for those students every year.
Which is not new.
Which is not new. There are currently study halls in our hybrid block system, which is not the idea behind a block schedule. Block scheduling should not have a study hall in it, but we have them. So we're losing out on instructional opportunities for our students. We have the combination schedules where some classes are period, some classes are block, and that just gums up the schedule and limits the flexibility of courses that students can take. We have limited flexibilities in our schedule making between MCTI, our learning support students, any transfer students that are coming in. It becomes very difficult when a student is coming in mid-year from a traditional schedule to fit them into a block schedule, because our first semester courses are over. They've only completed half of the course. We'll give them a second semester schedule. That's easy, but they have these random credits and things that are hanging out. And most importantly, the learning gaps, which I mentioned when I opened the presentation, that students could go over a calendar year in between concurrent courses. The 8 or 9 period schedule, it does remove those learning gaps. It would be continuous education year-round classes. Exposure to 8 or 9 classes per year, so that flexibility and that student choice would be there. The students would have many choices for their elective classes. The graduation requirements are defined and set. Study halls could be structured, or we could introduce diversified education through MCTI, where students who need to go to work could then do so and earn credit for that. Early graduation in a 9-period schedule is still a very real possibility. And there is more consistency with current schedules. So our students have their courses year-round K-5. They have their courses year-round 6 to 8. But yet in our high schools, they only have a half-year course. The cons, PM MCTI would still be below the 990 instructional hours, longer lunch periods. Teacher utilization is less effective. Science labs would have to be created. So especially in the 43-minute class, we would have to work with the principals about what science labs would look like and how we would get that extra time for lab experiments. More courses at one time. So students would be taking 8 or 9 courses, 7 or 8 courses, 7 or 8 courses at a time, where currently they may have only 4 or 5.
But Andy pointed out that that's what they do K through 8.
K through 8.
That that's not different. So some of our high school students push back that 3 courses per semester is reasonable, that 6 is too much. And we said, but the reality is in 8th grade, that's what you're doing.
And if they're spreading the work out over a year, the homework might not be as much because they don't have to get through a full year of coursework.
You're not reading a
in half
novel in
year.
2 weeks.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and something that I didn't put up under the block schedule, but if you look at our absenteeism, with the current block schedule, if a student misses a day because they're sick, they're really missing 2 days of instruction.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's something that I didn't put on there, but a day's only a day. You have 180 of them under the full period schedule, or when you only have 88 days, a day really does count for 2 days of instruction. But there also will be more preps per teacher. Under the 6 class period schedule, it's very efficient for master scheduling, full year instruction in all core courses, increases the seat time and depth of instruction in all their core courses, allows for hands-on learning while keeping the continuum of learning. Times will marry very well with MCTI. It is really the best schedule for our AP courses. It's flexible. And the option may remove senior release, study halls, if that's the direction that we want to go with it. The cons is there an increased number of classes at one time for teachers and students. Students could have up to 8 fewer classes in high school, depending on how they choose their schedule. There will be a learning curve with students, teachers, and administrators getting used to a new schedule. Students will have to make choices that will limit their overall exposure to courses through their high school career. And we will have to rework the program of studies and the course plans to align to this new schedule. So where are we? I met with student groups, mostly 9th and 10th grade students at both North and South High School. They oppose the loss of exposure to courses. They oppose having to choose between core academics and the electives that they enjoy. They're concerned about their impact on post-secondary opportunities. They're concerned about the increased workload with 6 classes per day instead of 4. They did not like the loss of study halls or senior release very vehemently. And they didn't like the time of day that the lunches took place in the period schedule. I met with teacher groups. Some teachers are very much in favor of a year-long 60-minute schedule. Some teachers were inspired with ways they could restructure their department and offerings that they could give to our students. Some teachers would prefer a year-long 43-minute schedule. They are concerned about the planning time with only one planning period of 60 minutes in that schedule. They're concerned about students losing exposure to electives and art classes. They're concerned with students that they need to choose their path early to make sure that their schedule is structured so that they can get all the classes that they want or need for their particular major that they may want to major in post-secondary ed. And they're concerned about the overall credit requirements. Now, the state doesn't give us any credit requirements, and colleges don't require them either. So colleges look at the courses that we offer and what students take and what they've earned in the courses that we have, and they make their acceptance not on the number of credits that we have, but on what the students did with the opportunities that they were given. So what are our next steps? I would need a decision either this month or next. Do we stay with the status quo, which is our hybrid block schedule? Or do we have a commitment to breaking the block? If there's a commitment to breaking the block, which schedule do you like the most? The 6 class period, the 8 period, or the 9 period? We continue to meet with stakeholders. I met with a teacher last week just to talk it through to gain that greater understanding and how that would affect that teacher's courses. Professional development would take place through the 26-27 and 27-28 school year. We would have committee work with the teachers to further discuss the impacts. We would rework the curriculum framework and the course plans.
So we're gonna get to a point of talking, but the decisions are, Andy, I'm sorry, is the first decision is, are we committed to the block? And if we're committed to the block, we would probably push to commit to the block and to get rid of the hybrid that we have and commit to full block and not the periods. Then if we decide to commit to the block, we'll commit to the block. If we decide to break the block, then you have 3 choices to do. We don't need all of those decisions made today or necessarily in August, but we need to know what our commitment is and which way we're focused. That way, if we're committing to the block, great, we're going to make it the best possible block schedule we can. If we're committed to either of the options, maybe you say we want to explore more the 6 period, the 9 period, or any iteration of that, then we'll keep exploring that with the hope of a decision made sooner than later, so that we can start our professional development and start moving forward to a period, not a block schedule. Sorry, Andy.
Is it time for questions?
Not yet.
Okay.
Now, here's just a summary. So we figured a summary chart might be a good chart of just visual of what it looks like. Now, go.
Keith?
I'm sorry, I had to unmute myself. One is, have we looked at how this will affect transportation in the different blocks, the different times? I mean, our transportation is already taxed with moving our students. And how will this affect our transportation of our students? The other question I have is, how will this affect, I'm talking to people in the community, a big concern is the arts, band, choir, and things like that. How will this affect those periods? Understanding that if we go to certain things, from what I've heard, is that we will not be able, a student will not be able to participate in both band and choir. They have to make a decision. Is that a true statement by people saying that? I'm just concerned for those things. You know, I know those are important. And then the other thing is how it will affect what will I mean, you've said it will coincide with MCTI, but will it work well with MCTI, either with these new options that we're talking about?
Right. So your first question in regard to transportation, the bell schedule during the day wouldn't have an impact on our overall transportation. We would start and end high school at the same time that we're starting and ending it this year. In regard to band and choir, so I actually met with Mr. Labar this past week, and we talked about students who want to take both band and choir. And we have some pretty strong schedules that we could implement for a student who wanted to take both band and choir and still get all of the other courses that they would need. Now, it may look slightly different than what it looks like this year, but it wouldn't be at a drastic loss to instructional time in either band or choir.
MCTI.
And MCTI, currently at our North High School, students either have to leave class early if they're going to MCTI in the afternoon, or they have to sit in study hall when they return from MCTI. This schedule, it actually works out that the times coincide because of the way we broke down the 30-minute lunches and what time the buses actually need to leave and actually arrive on a regular day coming from MCTI. We would not have to have students sitting in a study hall waiting to go to a lunch.
You're talking about going to a period schedule versus the block.
Correct.
Correct. And we,
Because currently they have to sit in study hall until the next period starts because the times are off from when the students return from MCTI and when their next class period starts.
and we've had conversations with Dr. Verga as well, that MCTI has all of their courses, their pathways approved for core courses, that they have it aligned with the PA Common Core, correct?
Yes.
So we also, in this process, we would start to offer some of those requirement credits for the MCTI credits. So that our students who are at MCTI, and we're probably going to do this anyway, is the goal, but our students at MCTI necessarily wouldn't have to take X number of math or X number of English because it's already embedded into it. And part of a CTC program is that they must embed that into the curriculum. So because they're doing it already, it would count as some of those core academics, which would free up our MCTI students to take more electives or more core classes as they choose. Keith, did that
And
answer your
what?
question?
Yeah, that was good. That was a good answer. I thank you. There was one other question I didn't ask, and I apologize. The other thing Andy, you mentioned is the senior release. I want to be very clear. The senior release, sounds like, oh, we're just letting the kids go, but some of these students are going out and working and producing income for their family. Will this still? I mean, are we going to affect that in a negative way? Is that, or is it? How will that be?
That is an outstanding question, Keith. And we actually spoke to Dr. Verga this past week, and MCTI runs a diversified occupations program.
Correct.
And then we can have students who want to go to work anywhere that they work in the community, and we can actually offer them credit for it. So as opposed to a senior release where students are just going, we actually have someone that reports to the school, that meets with the students, that talks with their employer, that makes sure that they're employed, that works with them on their employable skills, as opposed to us just saying, hey, go to your job, see you later. We're actually helping them to find jobs, and we're helping them to keep jobs. So we would not want to limit our families and our students who are helping their families through this program.
Is
Okay.
that regardless of 8, 9, or 6?
Yes.
Regardless.
Or block.
Or
I
block.
would say
Or
we're
block.
probably going to move forward. with that.
We want to move forward with it anyway, but currently, under our current system, students can just go.
Mhm.
And in the proposal, especially with 6, the idea of just senior release, oh, hey, you don't need to take all your classes your senior year. If you're going to work, I want to support you and I want to help you. But if you're just taking off to not have classes, we're in the business of educating students. So
I think that's a value statement as a school
Mhm.
board and as a district of what do we want
Yes.
to make?
Mhm.
Do we want to offer a senior release that a senior only needs to come in for a block?
And we have a lot.
And
to-
then
And we have a
have-
lot of
and-
students who do that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of what, I think overall the public has to understand. Like, we have students who, yes, take, 8 courses, all 4 years, and, like, phenomenal job. But we also have a lot of students who, by the time they're in their spring of their senior year, they only have to take English.
Right. And I find it hard to
and
believe that
it's-
we're, looking at society, we're out of things to teach kids. Like, there's nothing else we could teach them. We're done with you early is just a ridiculous statement from, education. We have plenty more we could do, the diversified education or whatever it is. Also, the study halls, having been a high school principal in our district, we have kids who spend a quarter of their day in study hall, or sometimes even more in their schedule, and they're sitting doing absolutely nothing for a quarter of their day. Block scheduling was a 90s fad, and I'm going to use that word. It was a fad. It was good maybe in the 90s. It was in, much like other things were in the 70s, different types of education. And if you notice, you'd be hard pressed to find districts that even use block scheduling. We're one of those few outliers. So, we have to start looking. Are we the innovative one, or are we the ones behind the times with that? And, the other thing that I see is just our transient population. When I was here in 2021, I had 178 students new every year and 178 leave every year. It doesn't sound like much because you don't net any new students, but you have 178 going out. So those 350, when they went out to regular schedules, were really behind the 8 ball with that. Like, they had problems because we would bring them in October and our class is half over and they're not there. Or we're sending students, to New Jersey or somewhere else, they're returning, and they've already had, they haven't had enough information, or kids coming to us are in the middle of a course. So it really doesn't, it never really fit East Stroudsburg with that transient population. So, I mean, I personally like the 6-period day, but I think moving away from the block is a no-brainer, that we really, we have to get away from that. It's just of no use
I
anymore.
just have a question for like those kids, because I have one of them that is going to be graduating in the 28, 29. So what does that look like next year? Who's helping them? I'm assuming it's their guidance counselors. You guys are going to be
Yeah,
training them to make sure that they're picking the appropriate classes to get them where they're needed. And then I have a 2030. So I think parents of those kids are going to be very concerned. And I think I'd like to see a better layout of how that's going to be implemented for them, to make sure that they are making the right decisions now with their guidance counselors, and their guidance counselors are really honed into them and making sure they get what they need.
Well, and that would be the professional development that we would be doing with the counselors over the next 2 years. And we would I would be sitting down, so if it were the 6-period schedule, it would be me, because I've put hundreds of hours of time into the schedule, what it looks like, how it's rolled out, what the credit requirements would be, what typical schedules would be. I worked up probably 25 different schedules that students could take based on what their interests might be or what their levels might be. And are they taking AP classes? Are they taking honors classes? Are they taking CP? Are they taking applied? Are they taking a mix? What if they like these classes? What about those? What makes them most competitive to the most competitive universities? What works best for students going to MCTI? How would DO work in? So I worked different. I really like scheduling, if you can't tell, but I worked those kinds of schedules. So if it were the 6-period, it would be me working with the counselors to say, all right, we have to take their career inventories. We have to look at what students are interested in, what they may want to do. If a student doesn't know what to do, here's how we're getting them exposure. Here's how we're going to eat up all those required classes early in their career, so that later in their career, they have the greatest amount of flexibility to take what they need, maybe when that light bulb goes off and they get the idea of what they want to do.
Okay, so you have a 9-period, 8-period, 6-period. What happened to 7-period? And I asked that as a planner, I look at it and say, well, mathematically, how would that work out? And is there a viable possibility of putting something in there so that we gain that one extra class per year to kind of satisfy some of those interests? And
So where things get ugly is around the lunches.
yes,
So the most efficient schedule is the 6-period schedule, because they're 60-minute classes. And then I could easily break up those 5 lunch periods and have 2 full classes in there. What you saw with the 8-period schedule is a 50-minute lunch.
right.
Which is,
So if it were a 7-period schedule, that would be, and rough math, say 53 minutes of instruction per class. I think even with if we chose the 8-period schedule, I'm going to have to go back and figure something else around lunches, because 50 minutes, as a high school principal, I would lose my mind if you told me I had to run 4 50-minute lunches.
I feel
Right.
bad for the cafeteria.
So with the cafeteria
So the
works.
cafeteria or-
But I'm also wondering, all right, so is there a way to build it in so that you get a lunch period and maybe, and I know that we just said that whole study hall thing, but just a break where you're able to apply yourself towards something. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah,
And
so
I'm not
it's
I'm not an
study
educational.
hall.
no.
But the reality is that who's supervising?
Right, all of
And what
those
does
things,
that
right,
look like?
right.
Yeah. So if that's the direction that, if the board likes
No, that's just me and.
that type of direction, I mean, I would have to put the hundreds of hours into, so the 9-period schedule is something that I've seen throughout my career.
Right.
I've built those schedules.
Before the 90s, when I was teaching here, obviously at that time, I've experienced both the 9-period day and the block schedule. And when I first started here, I was doing applied CP honors. By the time I was finished, I was doing electives and mostly AP classes. So really having seen the entire gamut of education, when we moved to block, the angst that everyone is feeling now, and how can we do this, and the whole bit, and really everybody but Stroudsburg was moving to that, so much so that we as teachers all went to Pocono Mountain for days and days of training, to go into the block. And my students loved the block, and as an English teacher, I love the block, especially in AP for discussion. But having been department chair for many years and looking at students both applied through AP, our AP kids, honors kids, our top kids, are going to thrive no matter what schedule we give them. You know what I mean? They will be successful. They will work hard. They will get into the best schools just as we've always done. What we have to look at are our middle to, less achieving students. And what happened in the block was that we realized that many of our students couldn't handle the block, literally couldn't sit still, for 90 minutes. And that's why we went to a hybrid schedule, so that we had 45-minute classes for our struggling students. And so in my mind, if we're deciding, whether we're going to break the block or stay, but strictly block, then we're saying to the educators who helped make the decision for our struggling students that they need to go all year. We're now saying no to that if we don't break the block and put those students back into 90-minute classes. And being a really tough writing teacher, because to me, writing and speaking, doesn't matter what career you're going into, that's what you need when you're in an English class. You would have students that had English in the fall, say their junior year, and then didn't have English again to their spring. And that's the time when you're writing your essays for college. And I mean, and truthfully, it was a disaster, And with the AP test, I taught AP in the fall. I gave up my lunch freely because I love my students, and gave them little passes to come to me, and they would come to me during their lunches in the spring to, take practice tests, go over things so that they could be successful on their AP tests, which they were. But that's a lot of extra for everyone, students including, because they were giving up their lunches. So for me personally, with that background experience, I think it's time to break the block, because we don't have the block to begin with. You know what I mean? If we were truly there and it was working for everyone, that would be fine. But the fact that we have a hybrid block, to me, obviously is indicative of the fact that the block itself has not been successful for all of our students. And that's the point. And I was concerned because, my daughter went through here as well, and she was a music, person. So to be able to get, all of those courses, and, you've talked to the music people, I mean, I think that's really important. And from an educator's perspective, the 43-minute classes, that's really fast, and you're looking at the fact that you're only getting 126 hours, of instructional minutes, and the 8 period and the 6 period, you're talking 146, 173. I mean, we want students to learn. And the question that you had, which no one mentioned, but it was on your next to last slide. And it's, again, it's the question, here, I'll read it, thank you. In order to maximize today's potential, should we place our emphasis on exposure or mastery? Mastery. Mastery. I mean, there's no, like, students are moving on to college, they're moving on to careers, they're moving on to workforces, whatever it is. You can be exposed to many things, particularly with, with everything we have, with media today, but you want mastery of skills. I mean, that's what's going to make you successful, whatever career you choose or whatever life path you go through. I mean, and to me, that's our job as educators, and therefore our job as a board to support the educators in that way.
Can I ask one other question? I'm sorry to
Wait,
cut somebody off.
Sorry,
Can we,
Keith.
can we let Debbie go? Because she hasn't had a
Yeah,
turn.
sure. Yep,
you.
no problem.
Thank you, Keith.
You're welcome.
Full disclosure, I came through here on a 6 periods system and literally had lots of opportunities. And the fact that our goal is to have our students come out more prepared, better prepared in all aspects, and especially those core classes, those are the basis for life. So I think that, we're not necessarily creating a system where they're not going to have opportunities. They're still going to be able to take courses and take 2 or 3 or 4 electives because there'll be those half credits, that type of thing. And we're going to prepare them better for life because they've had to do this. And a 30-minute lunch, I wager to say many people who are in the workforce have a 30-minute lunch. And I feel lunch. Yeah, if you get lunch. And it also will certainly keep the sanity of those folks who are in that lunchroom. So, and their food will stay warmer longer.
And that's what our students do currently have is a 30
Yeah,
minute lunch.
and everybody's fine.
I was just gonna ask, I was just
I-
gonna, Andy, I was just gonna ask, is there one of the 3 periods you're leaning toward possibly the 6-period class? Is that being the most effective? Is that
I like the 6th period because of the benefits that it can give to our students. Educationally, yes, I would prefer the 6th. There are a lot of changes and we're going to need the full 2 years to make sure that we iron the kinks out of it. But yes, and that would be the one, that is the one that most of our current students liked the least as I talked to them.
okay?
is the 6th.
Well, they have
You know,
And then one other
I
question.
promised them that, and I met one-on-one with some students that really had a lot of questions. And I promised them that I would not come here and talk to you all and put a shine on this, that students are okay with this. There are some students that have a lot of anxiety about it. There are some students that don't like the idea that goes with this 6-period schedule. In my opinion, if they have the opportunity to live it and experience it, it will become what they do.
Right.
The 6-period schedule marries what is done at the high schools at Pocono Mountain. And I spoke with Dr. Sweeney and she sent me her schedules and everything that she did when they implemented this similar schedule in 2013. So we can even get them talking to kids at Pocono Mountain. We can have our teachers meet with their high school teachers to see that this can work and there are student opportunities.
And just to highlight, so our district has done blocks since I was a sophomore in high school here, 1994. So do your math. I'm very old. And this is all most of our teachers know. This is all most of our families know, because a lot of our families have graduated under block and now have children at the high school. So change is hard. It sounds scary. You can use these facts and say, we're getting rid of arts and humanities because we're not doing it. And if anybody spends any time with Mr. Snyder, he values arts and humanities as much as he values English and math. We're not getting rid of anything. We actually think it'll open some areas up and just make it a more effective schedule while deepening students' understanding and content. But change is hard and it's scary. So, which is why we're talking a 2-year on-ramp. Like, we're not saying we're going to do this in August, let's go. We want to explore all of our options and explore all the questions and all the avenues and make sure that we do it and we get it right and we do right by our students. But we have to identify that when we say we're going to change, people are going to be resistant because it is natural to resist change. And there will always be some that just say no for the sake of saying no. So we have to make an informed decision based on what Andy has presented and understand all aspects of it and make sure we're doing right by our students and giving them the best possible education. Rebecca.
So the one concern that I had about the 6 was the financial literacy going down to a half.
So we're not decreasing any content. It would be the same amount of content.
So Mrs. Bear, currently the financial literacy course right now is 1 credit course.
Mhm.
And it covers both career standards and financial literacy standards. And it's taken in the freshman year and in the junior
Correct.
year. Because of that distance with the personal finance 2, there's a lot of overlap.
Right.
There's a lot of reteaching to start the course. When we were finishing personal finance 2, I spoke with the members of the business department and said, hey, if we go to this, could you make this one course knowing you'd have this many hours of instruction? And they felt extremely confident in creating a course that they would meet all the standards and they wouldn't be taking anything out of either of those 2 courses.
Okay, that was a concern of mine. I know that was a new PDE mandate.
Yeah,
I
the
just
mandate
want-
is a half credit and it must be called personal finance and it must be a graduation requirement.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other question I had is phys ed is going down to 1.5. So do they not take it every year? They only take it 3 years now?
They don't have to take it every year. So those are the minimum requirements.
And that's what the state says.
We must offer phys ed
That's what the.
every year. We must offer physical education
Okay.
that a student at any point in time, actually, I've talked to the phys ed teachers and we would get rid of phys ed, the course, and we would have strength training and we would have swimming and we would have team sports and we would have lifetime sports and build a robust curriculum that students could take specific phys ed courses around things that they want to take. And if they want to take 5 phys ed courses, they could take 5. But if they only want to take the minimum requirements, then that's all they would have to
Okay.
take.
And then, so arts and humanities is languages. So they'd be optional?
Yeah, it's all option. And arts and humanities, it's a lot of different boxes that it can currently check. We would just take that credit requirement away for the students that are really into math and science. If they want to be into math and science, that we want to allow them to pursue that path. We don't want to restrict them with a requirement, but rather encourage them to take what their interests lead them into.
Because I know way back, even way back more than you were, Maggie graduated high school, because I graduated before you. I was out of college when you were a sophomore. But we were required, back then, language was required. So the states no longer require language to graduate.
So some schools, some colleges have actually taken away their world language requirement.
Yep.
Some colleges allow you to take computer science programming as a language.
Mhm.
So there are some schools that very much require languages and some that want 3 or more credits, but others don't require it. It really depends on the student's program, the course that the college that they're looking to get into, and their
So with
major.
that
School
being
code,
said-
school code does not mandate world language.
So with that being said, with certain colleges requiring it and certain not, and certain career paths requiring it, will our guidance counselors be? Like,
Yeah, that's all part of the
because that's
training.
something that's really important is if the guidance counselor sits down with a student freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, especially like sophomore year when they say, okay, junior year's coming,
Mhm.
it's time to start thinking about college. What are you thinking, my friend? Because the last thing I want is for them to do it senior year and it's too late because the schedule's made. So sophomore year, we need to make sure that our guidance counselors are having those conversations.
Yeah.
Because as of right now, I can't honestly say then I know they are.
And,
I hope they are, but I can't in my heart say every single solitary student is having that conversation.
yeah, and that will be part of the PD for this upcoming year, would be getting them ready to go and have students choose courses for next year, knowing what the year after is going to look
And
like.
I would even love to have like parents' nights, like, you know, for incoming freshmen, incoming sophomores, incoming juniors every year, whether it be virtual or in person, saying, okay, here's what we need to think about. Like, even
they
like, you know,
do-
coaches doing NCAA. Hey, if your kid wants NCAA, these are the courses that your student needs to take. Hey, if your student wants to pursue a college like this, these are the courses that they need to consider taking. We just need to make sure we're educating, not just our students, but our parents and our community members and our caregivers. Because we just want to, I personally, as a parent, want to make sure that my children were prepared. I spent a lot of time researching and doing it for my students. Proud to say one's graduated, one's a sophomore in college now. But we need to make sure that not every parent went to college.
Mhm.
Not every parent has, you know, the mindset to think that way. And that's one thing that I want to embrace as a district, is that we're not just educating our students, but we're educating our families and community on how to better prepare the next generation, better than I was.
And agreed on your points with parents. And one thing I'm sure is still the practice I know when I was here is the principals met with every grade level at it right before course selection, went over the pitfalls, like don't miss this, don't do that. So the kids are educated every year.
Parents aren't.
The parents, yes, the parents, perhaps I would agree, we could do more offer sessions for them. To be honest with you, many times when we offered those sessions, no one came, but we did offer them, and I think we still should continue to offer them. But the kids do get that every year from their principals.
Was,
And Rebecca, I just want to make a point. You mentioned college, but a lot of students want to go on different forms of
No, exactly, but it's our job
leader.
as a district to educate them on what their
Yeah.
choices are and what they should be
I agree.
taking.
We have to give them that opportunity to explore. Correct.
Other question?
One-
was Keith finished or?
Yeah. you just-
No, I'm
Keith.
fine. No, I'm fine. I no, because I just
didn't
wanted
wanna
that one
interrupt.
statement. Yeah, no, it was I just wanted to say, like, not every student goes to college, and we
Right.
can't keep focusing on that. We got to look at all students, and giving them the options of what they need for their futures,
Whatever their future may be, we need to educate parents and students on what's
Correct.
And leaning into that, Keith, at least one of these options will level the playing field for our MCTI
Exactly.
students.
Mhm.
Correct.
And those are, quite frankly, those are skills and careers that are in great demand.
And right, and in demand, like you said, Debbie. Yes, we need those desperately in our country. Yes, thank you. Good point.
And then, just real quick, we've gone over, academic students. I was just thinking about like athletic students. The 9:15 brunch, I guess that would be,
brunch.
for the 8-period schedule is just,
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I do a 10:30 lunch, and I mean, that's pushing it. And that's the earliest where we're at here. My concern is the later lunches. Since we have students who leave
At like 1.
at 1 o'clock for athletic events. If they were to be in an 8th-period lunch. These aren't things.
They go
These
the
aren't things
period
to attention.
before, when we had students, I mean, I'm assuming it's still the same.
No, we've had issues where students had to leave 2 hours
Yeah.
before the end of the day.
Before the-
Especially at North too.
Yeah, and so I just want to make sure, and this isn't something, I mean, these are things to iron out, and, these are not
So
even
maybe make
wrinkles.
sure that student athletes,
And what would be,
have earlier.
and again,
lunches.
these are things that we should discuss later on.
But I think you were answering that question. You were saying. when
I mean,
students are dismissed
I always
early-
knew, like, when my students, because we get the, what sport they're on, the athletic thing, and so I always knew when they had to be dismissed.
Right.
And if I had them third or fourth block, which, were later in the day, they would always be told to go to first lunch.
And
so
then
that they
would
would always
miss
have
their
lunch.
other
But they missed
classes.
class.
They'd miss classes.
So they
Well,
would
I
miss
mean,
class.
but yeah, but that's like, I mean, they, doesn't matter what
Okay.
sport they're in, they're gonna miss class.
We
Okay.
can also set up a system.
Well, no, I'm,
where
and
everybody-
again.
Yeah,
this
to
is
go
not-
lunch.
not-
Maybe, yeah.
We've
I'm
done that
not-
too.
Like I
Yeah,
said,
I
I'm
mean, we
not-
always
Just
have
something to
kids
think
like
about,
that.
though.
Yeah,
You're right. Yeah,
because,
another think
because we're
about.
pushing lunch way back and
Yeah.
like 1:30 lunches, and then they leave. And then just a concern throughout the day for those students who do have, say, maybe a 1 o'clock lunch. You know, that's a 6-hour span for them. You know, again, these are issues that aren't, need to be discussed at this point. Just the one question I did have was with the 8, 9, and 6 period schedule. The time transition between a class, for the 6th period class, it's sort of a split. So it makes that 6th period class, 60-minute class, actually 65 minutes.
Yes.
So how will we deal with it? Because that's a lot of learning over an entire school year. That's
Well,
several days of learning. So
And I talked
Too
with the
much
principals about options.
no,
of-
it's not. It's
you
just,
saying
my
it's too
point
much
is
learning?
this. It's not too much learning. I'm gonna guarantee you'll get pushback from certain teachers, professional staff who say, I have a prep period, that period. So they get 5 extra minutes, which is actually 3 more days in the year. This has nothing to do with the students. I'm just saying, I want to make sure that we understand that in
But we have
any,
that
in any of
currently.
this. What's that?
But we have that currently. Anyone who has third block prep always has more time because third block prep is never used for assemblies. It's never when you're doing early dismissals, whatever, they
2-hour
never,
delays.
so,
Right.
I mean,
Can't-
first
so-
thing teacher
right.
does, but look at their schedule. Third period, third.
Yeah, you have
prep,
2 hours
you
prep.
know,
So, but
I mean,
I'm thinking
That's gonna
about,
happen in any schedule.
and I'm
That's
thinking
like-
about those teachers who have the lunch classes
Yeah.
and
I do
not
the
the
same
other
thing,
classes.
yeah.
Why do I have to teach the other classes?
It's-
I'm
it's
just
the
saying
luck of
that
the
these
draw.
are things that you're going, that we're,
Yeah.
I have, it has nothing to do with our
Mhm.
way. I know the way you've been handling curriculum has been fantastic, and I know you'll adjust curriculum
That's what I told them.
to whatever one that we decide to
That's the way it is.
go with. But those were just some concerns that I know that
Mhm.
will probably pop up later on. That's
Yeah.
all.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Other questions, thoughts, or concerns?
I think I would just like to see if there's a way to get one more class in. I don't know if that's possible, but
You want that 7, don't you?
I
You-
really would like
you-
that
you're
7.
Struggling for that 7.
I'm struggling for that 7, but
Doing the lunch.
but I don't know. And again, I'm not an expert on this, so. But
The lunches really mess it up.
They
What I
really
can
do.
say, what I can say about
or we
the,
just not-
Rich, that would make it like an 8 AM lunch if you did
the
that.
6-class
Yeah.
schedule, it was something that when I was teaching in block scheduling, I was like, this is just too long.
Mhm.
And then I became a principal at a school with 43-minute classes, and I was like,
Wait,
this
It's
is
too
this
short.
is
They're
too
short,
short.
yeah.
And I was like, if
The
there'd be a way
Goldilocks syndrome.
to make
gonna
this
say, it sounds like
60-minute
Goldilocks
schedule.
syndrome.
Hours.
And I was working it, and I just couldn't make the lunches work. And it wasn't until I spoke with Dr. Sweeney and she showed me
Mhm.
what Pocono Mountain did with their 5 lunch periods. And it was like that light bulb went off and I was like, you can do it. And going to that 5th lunch period so that you can break it into 30-minute chunks over the lunches is because in a 43-minute lunches aren't great, but they're not bad. But once you start going beyond that period of time for a lunch, it's just
It-
too long. And then what you would do is you'd have these combined period classes and then you'd start limiting and gunking up your master schedule.
Mhm.
And what happens is then your kids can't get the classes that they need. When you run a straight schedule, the efficiency that you have when you're scheduling your students for the classes that they want to take, it just works.
So what about, like, I know that we're doing dual enrollment now. I think part of my concern is that for those kids that are really trying to push it and get a number of different classes in there, if there's a way to, is there a way to layer in their dual enrollment so that they can take those classes that they just can't fit in their schedule to supplement
Yeah, so if they're taking like any of our NCC courses, that's all
Right.
going to stay the same. The Lackawanna program is
Right.
our courses. So, like,
That would satisfy me, I think, if
We-
we were able to like,
We also talked that Asaka is a great program.
right,
So if we had some students that were high achieving and overachieving and wanted to explore more, there's no cap to the amount of classes we would allow them to take at Asaka.
they would just be doing it on their own time.
they would be
outside
doing
of
it on their
the
own, and it would
Right.
be for, as an audit to learn as
Right.
opposed for, you know, the Osaka class wouldn't
And we're already
count
Right.
into the, to
Right.
the rank and.
We're already
things like
paying
that.
them
it would go
Schedule
on the
B. So
transcript.
maybe
It
we
would.
so maybe the first year we see, our students really wanted these AP or these courses and we
Right.
couldn't fit them in. Maybe we run them in the summer with Osaka. Like, we have so much flexibility with
Right.
how good Osaka is that there are opportunities that if students wanted more and couldn't get it into their schedule, although it's a different modality,
Right,
it's still an option.
right.
So
I think that's what I'm trying to get to.
That's
really.
it.
Rich,
I
if
thought-
they did do Asaka and it didn't count towards their class rank, how would we choose which classes go to the class rank and which?
I
don't?
would argue class rank, please keep class rank out of this. It's a
Yes.
whole nother conversation. Because I have very strong opinions about
Well, I'm
class
just saying,
rank.
people are concerned
it's
about
another
that. That's why I'm
conversation.
asking that
Correct. Yep.
question.
Let's worry about the core educational entity, and then those kind of things we can figure out as we go.
I just want to express my thanks for all the hours that you've
Mhm.
put into this.
Yeah, this is
100%.
very
I'm
challenging.
certain that your children grew 3 inches while you were doing this.
Hopefully they didn't, because they're old.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
kids,
they're all-
if they're growing
they're
now,
all
we're
doing
we're in trouble.
So we've talked it out. My question is where do we stand? When are you comfortable making a decision? Do you want EPR to make a recommendation and then bring it to the board in August? Are you comfortable making, so if you remember, we had like a decision tree, status quo versus commitment to breaking the block. Are we comfortable making that decision tonight?
Mhm.
I wouldn't do it tonight because, we should give the public an opportunity to have conversation about this. If we're not,
We have been talking about this at EPR for 4 months.
yes, we have an EPR, but this is a big decision. I think we need to hear from people. I'm comfortable saying right now that I'm comfortable with the 6 block, with 6.
Or
periods.
7.
Or 7,
6.5.
Why can't it be
That's
But-
3/4?
but
Well,
I would publicly state that I'm looking, exploring the six schedule, 6 the 6 schedule, and with what that holds for the future of the students. And then I'm sure we'll get some impact and some feedback from the public after watching this meeting.
yes,
So are we comfortable with EPR making a recommendation
Mhm,
yes.
and then bringing it in August
mhm.
and then voting on August?
As the
Now,
chair of EPR, may I just ask a question? Are we going to decide tonight, a vote in terms of just breaking the block? And then
I
in
think we're-
EPR, making the,
Recommendation.
looking at the,
yes.
think
the
that's a
3
good idea.
different ones, anybody from the public, obviously,
Well, I don't know if we
give.
need to,
Can make that.
I don't know if we need to have a vote to break the block. That's irrelevant. If we say we're going to throw it, we're going to use a new schedule starting in 28, 29, whatever that is, I think that's our decision at that time.
So I think we're all saying,
Right,
we're not going to vote, but we're saying we're looking,
right.
we want to look into that.
So
So,
Okay,
so let me
EPR
clarify then, so that in EPR, are we making the recommendation
on the
as
period.
to which one?
I think,
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
Of the period
okay.
program.
And I'm hearing, I'm just going to throw I'm all for 6, just as some others have mentioned, so.
I'm a 6 person.
And you just added another hour and a half on your meeting, Ann.
That's all right. We're used to having the 3-hour meetings. We're important.
Oh, it just hurt.
Right.
Touche, neighbor.
Keith is not
touche.
next to me. We bust each other all the time.
I think,
I get to do the.
I think it's important for the district, for us to have this conversation.
Agreed.
Mhm.
And have it
Totally
thoroughly,
agree.
because I think that there's, not only understanding of things, but
Yes.
we have to really digest it to
Mhm.
be able to make
Agreed.
it a
Mhm.
solid
Yep.
decision.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
my request is that as you process this, or as you hear from the people we serve of questions that haven't been answered, or if, not that people do this, but if people post information on social media, if you could just share that with myself and or Andy, so that when we bring it to EPR, we have, hey, here are some of the concerns, here are some of the questions. And then also when we bring it back in August, that we have some of those answers for you. So if you
Mhm.
still have answers, questions, let us keep answering them, because you're going to think of something tonight on the drive home. You're going to say, I wish I asked that. Let us know, like reach out, let us know, and then we'll kind of compile a list and say, this is where we're at. Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Perfect.
Andy, thank you for being dedicated to this process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, for your
Again,
work.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I just want to highlight that Andy gave statistics about what people don't like. So we're not trying to sway a decision.
Mhm.
We're trying to give you, hey, we're talking to people. Here are the concerns. Here's where we're at. We want to make sure you're making as informed of a decision as possible. Now,
I'm
we're-
sorry, what I just want to say, what I truly appreciate is the fact that you've gone into the schools, you've gone to the students, you've discussed this with the
Yes.
students. And, this is at least the third time that I've heard this
Mhm.
at EPR, where, the conversations have been had.
Yeah, And we asked at
Right.
EPR also
Yeah,
that they spoke with the, association, professional association
Yeah.
to,
talking with
in
everybody.
terms of the amount of prep time and everything that's in their contract, all that kind
Right.
of stuff. So, that's
So the-
also been examined as well.
The due diligence needs to
Yeah.
be
Mhm.
noted and the amount of
Yeah,
work that's gone
thank
into
you.
it.
Yes.
so my question for the board is, I have a presentation on climate survey. It's almost 8:30. Do you want to go at it, or do you want me to roll it in for next month?
I think next month is going to be
Next-
just as busy.
I was just gonna say that, we're gonna be
think
doing
You're
this.
here. Let's
Do you
go
want to
for it.
give like a
Between now
really
and
high
then.
level? It's on the internet, it's
It is.
everything.
Let's go
Yep,
for it.
let's go
Let's do
for
the
it.
high
All right,
level.
so the climate
So we
survey.
didn't meet
So
last
to be
month.
clear, we asked probably 75 questions of different stakeholder groups. These are not all the questions. It's not possible to give you all the information, but I highlighted some of what, very honestly, our team values. So, you see me moving, right?
Mhm.
You see me moving it? Okay. So we're going to talk about the response rate, the climate questions, the learning environment questions, the conditions of our schools, and then what's next and what do we do with this? So just a reminder, this data is not I got you data for our administrators. This is not to say our students don't feel welcome in school, you are failing our students. This is really for us to understand the impact of what we do, what we put in place, and know where to focus our energy so that we have the best possible education for our students. The data is broken down by grade span, just because I don't want it to be North data versus South data or ESE versus Bushkill. So I am showing you by grade span or by just constituent groups of caregivers, students, faculty, and staff. Internally, we break it down by each school, some of it by grade. We really get into the data and dig in as deep as we can to understand it. This helps us focus on improving the student experience. We serve our students. That is our goal. Our goal is to make the student experience as positive as possible. We collect data to make sure that our goals are specific and targeted at where our needs are. Each building and department administrator must develop one goal based on this data. So we had our admin workshop a few weeks ago. Every building really and department really spent time understanding what our people are saying and building goals to address one area of concern. And just realize that there's an infinite number of factors that impacts this data. To be intentional, we're focusing on micro changes. Too much change loses intention and is overwhelming. So we are not going to do big, massive changes with our school environments. We're going to change one variable at a time. So you shouldn't see big sweeping changes, because overhauling a system, I know that sounds counter to what we just said about the schedule, but you can't do that one little piece at a time. But for this, that is our focus. So when we look at our response rate, we changed how we did responses at the secondary level. So you will see very high response rates from our secondary students. We only ask 3rd through 12 to complete it. So at the elementary school, bless you, you'll see how many students were enrolled, grades 3 through 5 there, and then how many students actually took it. The student percentage is basically bless you, the full enrollment of students. For our caregivers, sadly about 24%. We sent it out multiple times, and then I met with our parent leadership team, and they said, you know what, there was a lot going on in the spring. Can we send it out one more time? And we actually sent it out a 3rd time, and we got about 24%. I know that seems low. 24 to 25% is typical for survey responses. It's not what I want it to be, but 25% is always where I shoot for it to be. And you can kind of see where the caregivers are of what they responded. And not that we would predict it, but we would probably predict that elementary families fill it out a little more frequently, intermediate starts to decline, and high school would be the lowest percentage. For our faculty and staff, kudos to them. About 75% of our faculty and staff have completed it, which is fantastic. Like, we are getting 3 out of 4 of our people have answered the survey. So I know there was some conversation about, do we do a 3rd-party survey? I feel like most of our people are responding. And as somebody who has read all of the responses, our people are really comfortable sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly with us. So overall comparison to where we were at, last year we ran an incentive for our staff to complete it. This year we didn't, so our staff did decrease. Caregivers stayed the same, and then our students were just super impressive. We need to figure out how to better engage our caregivers and work on increasing their response rate. So climate of the school. So when we look at caregivers' response to, I feel welcome, my child enjoys being in school, they're treated with respect, they're treated with respect by their peers, friends at school, comfortable being in school, and safe. All of these are something that I value. However, I really look at students treat my child with respect, my child has friends in school, and my child feels comfortable in school. To me, those are incredibly important, that our families recognize that our students have connections with who's in their school, and they have a friend group. Because although school is an academic institution, it is also a social being, and that social aspect is really important. Students treating one another with respect, you can see that it's about 60-some% across the board. When we look at numbers, sometimes we get really frustrated of, I feel welcome. Only 88% of our students at elementary feel welcome in school. Well, that's almost 9 out of 10. So if you frame it out of 10, sometimes that helps you understand, okay, while I want 100% of our students to feel welcome in school, sometimes it's difficult, and there are barriers that students have school phobia, or there's anxiety, or there's things happening that impact that. 88%, even 80%, are good numbers. 8 out of 10 students feel like they belong. We need to figure out that other 20%. Any questions about caregivers' response? So now, again, caregivers' response about climate. This is in comparison to the previous year. So this is a lot of numbers. What I did was, the green is where we improve. High school students enjoy being in school. I don't know if that's statistically important. I had some shaded, and some feedback I got was, you should shade anything that's a little bit more. So professional staff at high school, 0.6% is more. I don't know if that's relevant. That's one answer. It's less than an answer, but it is more than what it was. What I do like was, my child has friends at school at the intermediate level. We went from 86% to almost 92%. And from 92% to almost 94% at the elementary level. So those that we're looking at and we're focusing on, and if you remember back to our goals, those were some of the goals of, we want our students to feel safer in school, and we want our students to have connection. At the intermediate and high school, at the intermediate and elementary school, we're really improving those. The high school, we need to better understand those numbers. But if you look at it, feel safe is the only one that went down. The others are really in alignment. When we look at our student responses, enjoy being in school is low. But
Mm.
then I question, like, I wonder if we looked at that nationwide, is that atypical? Like, how many students are going to say, yeah, I'd rather be in school than? Adults treat me with respect is something that I look at of why are we a little bit lower? So when I meet with our student leadership teams, I'm going to try to unpack that and understand that of why do 7 out of 10 students feel at the high school that they're being treated with respect? What is happening there? And is it a perception or is it a reality? Now, we know their perception is their reality, but is it that they feel disrespected by having to come to school, right? Like, there's a lot that you can unpack with this. All this does is it doesn't answer questions for us. It just tells us where to look, where to ask more questions, and where to understand more. When you look again at, I have friends at school, very high, but students treat me with respect. That's not where it needs to be. And although our families are reporting higher, our students are reporting that less than half of our students feel that they're treated with respect by their peers. So that's something we need to look at peer-to-peer interaction. And when we roll out our goals for our levels at our next meeting, we'll start to talk about which grade span levels have set goals of peer-to-peer interactions. Again, a comparison to see where we've increased, and kudos to the intermediate school, not saying that the elementary schools and high schools did anything wrong, but the intermediate schools really focused on the student experience this year. And you can tell that. You had 2 new principals coming in with a fresh look, and there is growth in almost every single area. Again, the enjoys being in school. I'm not sure if you're ever going to get really high on that, especially a middle school student. And if you have middle school students in your home or you've lived with a middle school student, you should know that. But we are seeing growth and no rapid decline in any specific area. When we talk to our faculty about the school climate, and whether they enjoy being in school and they feel welcome. I mean, it's 9 out of 10 in every level except the intermediate school, which is 8 out of 10. Treated with respect by students at that intermediate level, it's crazy low to me. So I would want to unpack with our teachers of what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and how we can help that. It's interesting that students treat each other with respect is much higher than what students are reporting. So there's a disconnect of what our teachers are seeing and feeling to what our students are reporting, right? So about 40% of our students say they're treated with respect by their peers. But then when you look at the staff, it's over 57%, 74 and 67% or 66%. So those are things we need to really understand a little bit better. Am I going too fast, too slow?
Good.
Perfect.
Again, this is the comparison. And if you look at the staff, we went up in almost every area with their climate and the environment that we work with them in. So kudos to our administrators, our department leaders of just making sure that they're continually building a positive environment. Because again, if the people that we employ feel comfortable and they're happy in their job, that will transcend down to our students, and our students will be more comfortable and happier in their environment as well. Any questions about climate or anything you are concerned or worried about? Okay, learning environment. So this is really about the education that we offer. So this is the caregivers of, is the school meeting my students' needs, the expectations that we have? Are we encouraging our students? Do they care? And are they available to have conversations? And again, the only one is the intermediate level at 69%, but all of these numbers, I believe, are something we can really be proud of. Is that overwhelming at the levels, all 3 grade spans, our students are having their needs met and our caregivers are mostly happy with the services we are offering. Then when we look at student responses, it's a little different of, is it meeting my needs? So again, I need to unpack that. Our families feel that it's meeting their needs. Our students are saying not. So maybe when I meet with my student leadership teams at high schools, I'm going to have a conversation of, well, what are your needs and how do you feel that we're not meeting them? Because maybe it's not possible, or maybe they don't understand the question, or maybe there are areas where we are falling short and we need to understand what that is. But most of the numbers of like, my school wants me to succeed, those numbers are great, that they recognize we're completely engaged and dedicated to their education, and we want to see them successful. Here are the responses. We increased in 2 areas. There were no significant decreases at the elementary. There were some, but our participation rate wasn't as high at the elementary. But nothing here was incredibly alarming to me. Conditions of our schools. So we've talked about the culture that we create. We've talked about the actual services, and now it's the environment that we offer. So we ask a question, my school is in good condition. That's that green bar. If they responded no, so the counter of that 100%, then we said, what are you worried about? So when you see 70%, it doesn't mean 71% of our students are worried about the bathroom. It means that out of that 36.5% that feel their school is not in good condition, 70% of that 30-some percent feel that the bathrooms are the biggest concern. So this just shows us, okay, let's spend some time in those areas and understand where they were. Bathrooms, I'm making a guess that if we have conversations with students about the bathroom, they're going to talk about vaping, bathrooms being closed and not available, or they're going to talk about graffiti on the walls, or just that it's dirty. And it's dirty, not necessarily because our custodians or environmental services aren't doing their job, but that students are not treating that space with respect. If you've worked in a high school, any high school, it's always the case, but it's a conversation we have to have. And how do we get them to have ownership over that space and respect over that space so that they're treating it well? So again, it points us in the direction of where to ask more questions. When we talk about is the school in good condition, this is just so you can see where we're at in comparison of, and some of our scores went down. Students went down compared to the previous school year. Caregivers went down, but by 0.7%. Professional staff went down by about 4%, and then support staff actually increased. So we need to really understand this better. Mr. Romagno, who is your new director of facilities, has always conducted a semi-annual survey about cleanliness in the schools. So he sends out a very, very specific survey of talk to me about your space in your workspace. And our staff respond. He reads every survey, and then he works on making sure that we're addressing those needs. So maybe our staff are saying this classroom repeatedly is not getting clean. So then he knows, again, where to focus his intention. He's going to continue that process with maintenance and grounds so that we can make sure that the condition of our schools is the highest level of condition. We've invested a lot of money into our facilities. We have beautiful facilities, and people need to appreciate them, respect them, and we need to take the best care of them. So next steps. We're going to continue to work with each stakeholder group to understand this data. So within schools, we have our student leadership teams, and then we have our monthly union leadership meetings in our schools. For me, I have our parent leadership team, our citizens advisory committee, which we're going to be creating, and our monthly union leadership meetings to, again, show this data, have conversations, and just understand the perspective and why people answered the way we answered, and then how we can improve the climate and the culture and the environment that we create for our people. Board reports. So what's next overall is that in August, Andy and I are going to present PSSA and Keystone data. In September, we're going to create a slide deck for building goals. In October, we'll do department goals. Then mid-year, we'll give you the progress on those goals. April and May, we'll do the budget. And June, we will report out on our goals. So that is what's coming next. That was high level. Did I do okay?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Catrillo, we are all back to you.
Just want to mention with the bathrooms, and I think Rebecca and Anna remember when I first got on the board, you were already on the board, we went to the North and South students, and that issue keeps coming up. And I know a suggestion that came out was looking at, not that we want to add any more people, but like in some of the major bathroom areas, bathroom monitors who are there all the time. And again, not a discussion for tonight, but it may be something, if it keeps coming up, it may be
I
something.
remember
Look at.
way back in the day when I was in high school,
Mhm.
teachers did their prep at a desk outside the bathroom.
It's
So-
not an uncommon problem, I know. certainly.
Our building principals are infusing some of that actually into their goals of having security do
Okay,
more
security
frequent
would work.
bathroom
Yep.
checks
Mhm.
at the secondary level. So that's in the works with our
Perfect.
current staff levels.
Good.
It's a
Okay.
great question.
And
Oh.
Mike, you make a good point because at those meetings, it wasn't necessarily the cleanliness of the bathrooms, more of the activity in the bathrooms and the feeling of security.
Mhm.
in the
Yep.
event.
And I just know, I mean, obviously when I was here, it was a thing that came up all the time too, as principal here.
It's always, I think that's always going to be the case.
Yeah, it's not I mean,
Back
it's
in the
certainly, like you
80s,
said,
it
it's
was
not an us issue.
Yeah.
It's certainly a universal
Yeah.
issue, but I'm glad we are taking, steps and talking
Mm-hmm.
to kids about it because I think that's so important. Okay, thank you, Dr. Vitale, Mr. Snyder, thank you so much. Right, we're going to move on to our reports. MCTI, Jason?
The JOC did not meet in July. Our next meeting will be August 3rd at 7 PM.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Colonial IU is me. Happy to report that our our executive staff down in the IU do a great job with contracts and have the teacher contract has been passed and it was a good contract. Teachers were happy, so that was an excellent and in record time almost, so that was good. As was Act 93 and also with the assistant directors. So a lot of things were put in place and all went very smooth and the board was happy with all of those agreements that came up. One of the big items, just because it's a major item, the HVAC system is in need of many repairs down at the IU itself. So right now the board is working with the directors there to just figure out there's a full project that really needs to be done, which would be over $6 million, but would also cause major disruptions to the programs there. So right now, we are continuing to discuss how to handle that and perhaps break it up into smaller pieces over years. But it is a major money item, so I thought I would just mention that to you. We also heard the annual safety report from the IU safety director, including the safe to say drills, incidents, and everything was done very efficiently and professionally. So I think we're in good hands as far as safety at our IU. And then on a fun note, two big events, early intervention program, which is program prior to kindergarten, has an annual fun day. We were treated to some video of that. It is on the IU 20 website. So if you want to look for some smiles, watch them and their fun day. They do a great job. And also the Colonial Academy. Colonial Academy is the alternative school and they do a magnificent job at Colonial Academy. Some of our students are at Colonial Academy from Eastburg. And when they have graduation and to watch these kids graduate who have really had issues through their high school career, but finally make it and just the love you see between the staff and the kids and the parents, it really is an amazing thing. And that too is online on the IU 20. So if you need a good pick-me-up, watch the early intervention and the Colonial Academy graduation. And the last thing is that the IU did run the annual summer administration workshop on June 18th. And I know our people, some people attended to it. And I think they were highly successful with that too. And that's my report. Property and facilities.
Properties and facilities did not meet this month and will be meeting in August on the 5th at 5:30 here at the district office.
Okay. Education programs and resources.
We also did not meet in July. Our meeting is August 6th, 5:30 here or on Zoom.
Okay. Finance.
We also did not meet, and our next meeting is August 10th, both here and via Zoom.
Keith, policy.
We did not meet today. We got our work done before, and we will meet next month at 4:30.
Right. And as we all know, during July, we had made a decision that most of our committees would not be meeting. That's why there are not a lot of reports this month, but they will make up for it next month, I assure you. Okay, we are now on public participation, limited to comments on the agenda. 3 minutes is our time for that. And do we have anyone present for public participation?
I have no one that has registered. Do we have anybody online? Okay,
Okay,
let's hold them. Anybody here that wants to speak? Because we have nobody that filled out cards. Okay, the person online then.
okay. I don't know their name. But...
Their name?
Okay, Kathleen, can you hear us? We're doing public input.
Yes, I do. Good evening.
Good evening.
I have many concerns about the changing of the schedule. I have a big concern that you guys are trying to push this agenda in a July meeting when most families are trying to have whatever time they can with their families, vacations and this and that. You've postponed your committee meetings for July, but you are not postponing this meeting. I feel that this is a very important topic. I believe that the public has spoken. I believe the students have spoken. And for whatever reason, those opinions are not being taken as seriously as they should be. With a block schedule, you have more time for the students to master, as you had said, that particular subject. With these multiple classes, multiple 9 periods, 8 periods, the kids are overburdened. I have a student in high school. I have a student in middle school who is now going up to the high school. My student who was in middle school was bombarded so much with homework every single day, hours of homework, where she is stressing herself out to the point where she was worried about getting her homework done. When you have a block scheduling, you are limiting, you are not overstressing the student. They are able to master that subject. They are able to have effective communication with their teacher, whether they need additional help or a better understanding. When you have a student who, now both my students are honor roll students. My son, who will be a junior this coming year, is enrolled for dual credit. He's taken all AP. My daughter is in all honor rolls. They are both doing, my daughter will come into the 9th grade, already done Algebra 1. She's coming into Algebra 2. Give these children the opportunity. They are speaking. They have a voice. Listen to what they are saying. Listen to the parents. You have many diverse, a very diverse community here. You have many homes that rely, unfortunately, they rely on that student for that financial income. I am thankful that I'm not one of those families, but I grew up in a family like that. So I think you need to start listening to the public more and stop pushing an agenda. I am very offended of the comment that Ms. Vital said, Dr. Vital said, oh, we've had this out there and the community has spoken. Listen to the community. Listen to the community. There are so many levels that you need to look at. It's not just a block schedule and scheduling. You sit here and said that, if a student wants to take 5 gym classes, let them take 5 gym classes. How is that educating our students? If you have a problem with a student sitting in sitting hall for 5 periods a day, why don't you have a problem with a student taking 5 gym classes? What you're
Kathleen, I just have to let you know that you hit your
not making
3-minute
sense.
time.
And I didn't hear your township. Can we just get your township?
So that is just my concern as a parent who has 2 children in this school district.
Thank you,
That
Kathleen.
this will affect greatly. Both my students and myself have taken the survey. Listen to what the survey says.
Thank you. We appreciate your input. Okay. Anyone else online? No, and no one else. All right. Seeing none, we'll move on. Unfinished business would be the bus sale update. Some discussion on that.
We did sell a bus for $10,000. One bus. So just an update.
Okay. Any questions from board members on that? All right, then we will move on. We need a motion, and person who makes the motion would need to name 2 board members to serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee.
They will be liaisons.
So,
I'd recommend the
so
motion.
move.
Liaisons.
Oh,
Liaisons.
Okay,
I would make a motion that.
Motion to, so we have to do a motion to amend this action So it's a motion to appoint two liaisons to the Citizens Advisory Committee.
That's exactly what the motion would be I'd make.
Yes.
And I would second that motion.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
so we are voting on the motion to appoint two liaisons to the Citizens Advisory Committee.
And I would like to be considered.
And I would like to be considered.
I would nominate Shanika.
I would second that. I-
Nominate Deb.
For what?
Okay,
And
so,
with that, just to be, the community members that are chosen will be notified at the next board meeting?
Correct.
We'll
We have
select
not
them
gone through the vetting process.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure that's clear. So if anybody who's listening has submitted their application, they are being reviewed and we did not forget.
okay, so we've had three names. Should we do one name at a time or two names that are, whoever made the motion really should put the two names in. So I guess,
I
that-
heard.
Well, we,
Me and Debbie.
and Keith,
And
And
Keith.
Debbie,
So there's
I'd
three.
like to nominate Rich.
okay,
And Rich.
and Rich.
Well, you're just making the problem worse.
Well,
Thanks.
I'll withdraw my name.
Are you withdrawing?
Keith is declining the nomination, just so you, Rich has declined the nomination.
Okay.
Oh.
Sorry,
And I'm
sorry.
sorry,
Keith,
Deb, what-
that's-
Debbie, you were nominated.
I thought since we just kept adding on to the
Okay.
pile,
No, you've been
I
nominated.
would still like to be considered.
Yes.
yes,
I'll nominate
You're
you,
not-
Debbie.
I nominated.
Thank
her.
you.
Yeah.
She's good.
so we have Keith, Deb, and Shanika, correct?
Mhm.
So you can take them one by one, or you can just have someone make a motion with two, and I think it's probably
Or we can have an alternate.
Or an alternate, that's.
I like that idea.
that motion as
Yeah,
well.
make a
Okay.
motion to have an alternate so all three names could be considered.
Okay,
and
So-
we
well, I
can
have
do-
I have a question. Why must it be two? Could it be three?
That's why I just said alternate, so.
No, but like even not an alternate, but three people. Other committees have up to four people.
I mean, it could be, any. I mean, it's not, it's not a board committee, but,
Not a board committee.
No.
It is
I'm,
committee-
okay, I'm right. I'm not saying that, but
but since we have three people, I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
would
fine.
think there's not an issue in having.
I make a
three
motion that we
people.
have three people on the committee and they are,
And they
As
are
liaison,
liaisons,
three
not
As
voting
liaison.
members.
right?
And I second it.
Okay, so now we have a first and second to
Hold
appoint
on.
as a liaison member, Keith,
That, Patricia?
Debbie, and Shanika.
Got it.
I'll
That was
second
our,
that.
and that was seconded. Now
I'll second
discussion
it.
on that? Anyone?
Great idea.
Just
Okay.
making sure it's clear that it is a motion to select those three as liaisons to the,
Liaisons.
Right.
that's correct, to the Citizens Advisory Committee.
All right, we're all clear on what we're voting on? Any other questions?
Indeed.
Then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, great.
Wait, somebody- I figured it was like 60.
No, I think it was just a delay.
Okay.
It was his delay.
Keith, you voted yay to that, right?
yeah, Mike,
It
unless I
came
vote
through
no,
late. I
I'm
just wanted
gonna-
to make sure
Yeah,
you voted. Okay,
unless-
okay,
being that I'm going to just vote no. Unless I vote no, I vote yes. You know,
Okay,
because it's
gotcha.
delayed. So
I gotcha. Okay. All right, so, and thank you
We're
to
in the middle of the
Keith,
ocean.
Debbie, and Shanika for volunteering for that. A motion to approve the curriculum framework as indicated below.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Just happy we're actually doing curriculum.
It is so exciting to, and
saying it
especially
for you,
English
yeah.
curriculum. It's just like so
Amazing.
exciting. So-
We aim to please.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion to approve the following curricular resources for the 26-27 school year. They're all listed there.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
are all
I'm
these,
sorry,
wait,
Keith,
I
go
have a
ahead.
question.
Yep.
Are all these, with the best interest of finances, all these are needed and were they're approved and so forth?
We would not bring anything to you that we did not think was important for the education of our students.
A lot of these are.
And,
renewed-
yeah,
Mostly renewed.
that's what I'm saying. All I'm saying is just because they're a renewal doesn't mean we have to renew them if they're not needed. That's all
There
I
are
was
several
questioning.
programs that we have not renewed and that we have walked away from because we did not think, this is what we have
Okay.
vetted through people services
Perfect.
and curriculum.
Okay, all right, good question.
Perfect. Thank you.
Then all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
He's not opposed.
He's not opposed. We know that. Okay, then we need a
Oh,
motion.
I
to-
won't say anything. I'm sorry. I'm done.
That's okay. All right. Motion to approve the implementation of the following intramurals and clubs that are listed there.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the revised agreement as presented at this meeting between the East Stroudsburg Area District and the Club Exploria Management LLC for the use of its golf course for practices and matches for the high school North golf team for 26-27.
So moved.
Questions?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion to approve the facility agreement between the East Stroudsburg Area School District and Stroud Township for the use of Yetter Park for the South Cross Country team during the 26-27 school year.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion to approve the admission of one foreign exchange student sponsored by Flag Foreign Links Around the Globe and one foreign exchange student sponsored by Youth for Understanding Intercultural Exchange Programs. Both are CSIET listed agents at the East Stroudsburg Area High School South for 26-27 in accordance with the provisions of Policy 239.
So moved. Second.
Questions? Just curious, does
Do-
anyone know where they're from?
What I was going to ask. Do
You
we-
happen to
I
know
know
that?
Jonathan.
Okay, we can always get that.
It's nice that we do that because I know for softball at North last year, we actually had an exchange student play in the team. And it was great to
Mhm.
see the girls with the culture and just
Yes,
learning about each other. So
It is.
I
I
love that we do this.
we've had many, I know in my career, and they bring so much to the school, and get involved so much. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the revised position description for instructional coach and department chairperson.
So moved.
Second.
Question?
And these have been vetted through the professional staff union,
Just gonna ask
and
that.
they have spoken to us about it. We've worked on it, I want to say, for about a year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion to approve the revised position description for paraprofessional and cafeteria monitor.
So
And
moved.
just in the same way, we have worked with them for about a year. What this does is it takes the paraprofessional position and makes it one position and collapses the personal care assistant.
Oh.
And also it gets rid of the library para, the instructional para, the reading para, the special ed para, and the PCA. And it just makes it a paraprofessional. And they are all paraprofessionals. They will all receive consistent professional development, consistent training. No one position is better than the other. It makes it easy for us for scheduling. As far as cafeteria monitor, we added some language and adjusted some language so that Fund 50, which is our enterprise fund, these people can now be paid out of that, which takes it out of our general operating fund, moves it to Fund 50, and it takes about $500,000 out of our budget, which we already budgeted for. It's baked in the budget, but the job description has to fit and match.
Hey, good. Thank you for the description. Any questions?
Very awesome.
All in
I
favor?
don't think we
Aye.
second, did we?
Opposed?
Yeah, I have a second.
Did we
I
do
might
a
have-
second,
I might have
Patricia?
cut it off.
We did, okay. Motion to approve the following memorandum of understanding between the East Stroudsburg Area School District and the East Stroudsburg Area Education Association regarding external virtual teachers, Schedule B.
So moved.
Second.
Is this for teachers who teach brick and mortar to also virtual teach in Osaka?
Correct.
Okay, anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
By the way, your exchange students are from Germany and Brazil.
Thank you. I was
Ah,
just looking at
Germany,
it.
Brazil.
Brazil.
Perhaps they could play soccer.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Well, it's not from Argentina. No, I'm kidding. Don't want to bust start. It was a great game. It was a great game.
Was an
Okay.
excellent
Too
game.
soon, too soon.
Yeah, too soon.
Motion to approve the following memorandum of understanding between the East Stroudsburg Area School District and East Stroudsburg Area Education Association regarding Appendix A and C, bus drivers overtime.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the employment actions listed in accordance with the associated applicable policies, procedure, and contractual agreements, and that's the long HR agenda list.
So moved. Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion to authorize the rescission of outstanding penalties and interest on the 2024 tax bill issued against parcel number 09-10287 due to a clerical error at the county assessment office.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the following items 1 to 4 that are listed there.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion to approve the addendum to Cintas Cooperative Agreement for the remainder of the contract 2026 to 2028.
Second.
Questions? All, go ahead.
Hold on one sec. Let me just explain this out. So Cintas ran our uniforms for our support staff. The CBA that we just approved in March, April, updated that we would be purchasing, not renting and leasing uniforms. Cintas, we were still in an agreement with them. They were incredibly supportive of us in moving that agreement away from uniforms to mops and rags. So they have allowed us to break the contract for uniforms, which we were about 2 years away from finishing, and move it to mops and all of those things on there. So kudos to Cintas for working for our district. And honestly, Mr. Romagno has been working on this probably since February to get this over the finish line.
Excellent.
Thank you. And thanks, Tim.
Just so you know more about mops.
Yep. Let's hear it for mops. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion
Clean
to
it up.
approve the payment of bills and unaudited treasurer's report listed in the agenda for 25-26 fiscal year in accordance with section 687 of the Public School Code, recent directives from the Department of Ed, and interpretations made by the Auditor General.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All
I
in
need to
favor?
abstain, I need to abstain from payment of bills number 2021.
Okay, so noted. Thank you, Keith. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion to approve the payment of the following invoices, applications for payment, and change orders as submitted, and they're listed there.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion to approve the amendment to the listing price for the surplus bus fleet, reducing the unit price from 10,000 to 2,500.
So moved.
I hate to do it, but second.
Oh, second.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Questions?
Will we
Yeah,
be
discussion.
trying that other site that Rich recommended?
We will do everything we can to sell them for the
No.
most possible money
Okay.
we can.
Gotcha.
Anyone would like to buy a bus, please see us after the meeting.
We are selling propane buses at a bargain rate.
Bargain, it is a
They
bargain,
make
right?
great campers.
They make
Campers.
campers,
Watch HGTV, you could do a lot with them.
food trucks.
Probably the only audience we have.
They're leaving.
They're leaving. We made them leave for the buses.
Good night.
Maybe,
Uh,
maybe a shed too, storage facility.
Bed, storage.
Maybe we should call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the contracts listed for their specific services, rates, effective dates, subject to the review and recommendations of the solicitor and approval of the administration regarding the terms and conditions of any final contract other than price or cost.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
I have to abstain from all Bushkill Emergency Corps.
Okay, so noted. Anyone else? Sorry, I'm just, okay, in that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Does anyone have any new business? Okay, before we do adjournment, any announcements, any questions from the board? Nope. Seeing none, we need a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Safe after.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you to everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.